Today is Wednesday, June 11th, and we welcome you back to the Frozen Edge podcast, your home for daily picks, props, and parlays, and analysis behind the NHL's betting market as the chase for sports' greatest trophy closes in. A 2-1 series lead as Florida takes Game 3. Along with Timo Seppa, former senior manager of hockey analytics at the NHL, I'm Casey Ditzel. Timo, how's it going?
Great. Looking forward to a game 4 here. I feel that the series is back where we thought it would be. We both liked Florida in a long series. Having Edmonton grab the first game made you wonder if that was on track. I feel like we're on track. It's sports and it's life, so I'm sure there's some unexpected twists and turns ahead of us, but really looking forward to the game tonight.
Well, Florida really put their stamp on Game 3. A lot to talk about before we get to our odds and picks coming up for tonight's contest. And let's start with maybe the biggest storyline through that. We already knew that Nugent Hopkins was banged up going into this game, but during the second period, Connor McDavid, injured down the tunnel, did not return until late in that third period. Obviously, that's extremely important and probably just added to the difficulty that Florida gave Edmonton throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean, McDavid, he gets nicked up every now and then. Obviously, he's so fast and so elusive that it's hard to get a hit on him, but it's significant if you can, and that's other than picking up the win. You could argue that it's the most significant thing that came out of that game, and you got a guy who's certainly got the pedigree of being a top defender in Ekblad, and he lined up McDavid well enough to get a piece of him, at least to knock him over. So from a Florida point of view, that's what you want to be doing. We'll see if it's something or a little something or a nothing going forward.
McDavid and Draisaitl really took over the first couple of games. Does that show any concerns for you looking forward here? He's expected to be back in the lineup, but if they can't get it done without relying on those two guys.
Yeah, going and in our series preview, I mentioned that before the series, I picked 11 points as players with 11 or more points, and Florida had 10, and Edmonton had 6, but then they lost Hyman, so you're down to 5. Well, 2 of those other guys are Nugent Hopkins and McDavid. Obviously, McDavid is much more than that. Draisaitl is much more than that. But it just shows you that if Edmonton is losing one of those top end guys or getting one of those top end guys nicked up so that they're less efficient, that's going to hurt that depth of scoring that much more.
Well, Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand went toe-to-toe, our two picks to maybe make a run at the Conn Smythe. Marchand set the tone early, and Bennett picked right up from there.
Yeah.
Bennett unfortunately got kicked out of the game, which cost us our shot prop. He was on pace to hit it and got ejected with about 10 minutes to go in the third period after that first scrum. But Stuart Skinner gets pulled in this game, and a lot of that comes with the traffic in front. He looked really uncomfortable throughout that third game. Where do you see this third game impacting maybe his confidence, or do you think we expect a bounce back coming forward? We're going to talk about it a little bit as we get into Game 4 as well.
Yeah, I've got some more in-depth stats on Skinner. I'll just say for Game 3, I thought the first goal, the Marchand goal, was really weak. He was just like wandering way out. And I thought the Bennett goal was weak. Skinner can look really awkward on those breakaways. Obviously, breakaways, you got a good chance of scoring. But, I mean, you look at the shootout. I mean, you're still in a shootout. You got a third of the goals scoring or whatever. So the goalie has a good chance to stop a breakaway. I mean, Skinner just looks really uncomfortable on a lot of those. So those were the two bad goals. I thought the other 3 goals were more team breakdowns than Skinner. Is it likely that Edmonton will come back with him? Yeah, probably. is it the good Skinner or the bad Skinner? It's been the question all along.
All of the books right now have Skinner and not Pickard on the betting odds for over unders. So we'll keep an eye on that, whether or not Pickard gets the nod. Evan Rodriguez, a big game, 2 points. He had the
Mm,
goal that we called at
there you
some
go.
big plus money. Uh, Good note on that one. And Nico Mikkola did not get a goal, but he had the helper on Rodriguez's late power
Mm,
play goal to hit that marker. How about Nate Schmidt? 5 assists through the
mm.
series so far in 3 games. That is the first defenseman with 5 assists in a Stanley Cup final, period. Nonetheless, just 3 games in a Stanley Cup final. And he is tied for the most assists
Mm.
with Connor McDavid so far this series. That was a stat they pulled up on the TNT broadcast. That's just outstanding when you think of him
Right.
being kind of a bottom pair guy for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I mean he's won a Stanley Cup before. I Earlier in the playoffs, I remember there was a goal against or two where I really didn't like what he was doing. I mean that was a lot earlier in the playoffs. I think he's come on real strong. He's been Florida has so many of the defensemen that they have clicking really well. I've been impressed with him, especially the second half of the playoffs.
And last on game 3, Alexander Barkov still does not have a point through 3 games in this series. Is this a guy to monitor maybe for a breakout upcoming, or what have you seen that's
Mm,
kind of held Barkov back so far? The guy last year that was up there in the top 2, top 3 for the Conn Smythe Award, and it was pretty much for a while him or Bobrovsky until McDavid kind of stunned everyone.
yeah. And then last series, I mean, certainly everybody was. You had the video replays, the endless ones off of that awesome primary assist that he had. Um, he's a good two-way forward. He's playing a lot against some of the best players in the world. I'm sure his focus is, probably more than 50% on his defending and other aspects of the game. So, um, I'm not looking for him to get a point in this game. He'll pick up his points here at some point, but it doesn't mean that he's playing poorly.
Looking forward to game 4 now. The game lines, Edmonton has now become a heavy underdog all of a
Mm,
sudden. Florida, the favorite, minus 152 on the money line. Edmonton is plus 126, minus 205 to cover a plus 1.5 spread.
yeah,
Florida is plus 160 on the minus 1.5 spread, which I would say if you're going to pick Florida to tend on that one at plus 160 there. The over under again set 6.5 here. We hinted at Nugent Hopkins
yeah,
kind of storyline here when we talked about the McDavid injury. Expected to be back, Timo, but some news coming into
yeah,
the day for him.
yeah. Just watching NHL Network, sorry, yesterday, and Mike Johnson speaking about it in particular, mentioning how Nugent Hopkins wasn't taking faceoffs in the last game. And also he took a maintenance day yesterday. That's not surprising because he was banged up going into game 3 to begin with. Yesterday, Jeff Skinner was taking the rushes in his place on the McDavid Perry line, so they didn't have to juggle the rest of their lines for their practice. You would think that Nugent Hopkins will be back. Obviously, it looks like Jeff Skinner is the replacement if he doesn't come back. I did dig into RNH's face-offs throughout the playoffs. First of all, he's a slightly below average face-off man in the regular season. So is Connor McDavid, by the way. Nugent Hopkins, 48.5% for the regular season. So average-ish. 8 of the first 9 games in the playoffs, he took between 11 and 17 face-offs per game. Then I'm going to gather he picked up an injury because over the last 7 games, he had 0 faceoffs in three of those games, and he never took more than 7 faceoffs. So I'm going to say he was banged up already, kind of part way through the playoffs. This series, He got back to taking 16 faceoffs in game one, 7 in game two, 0 in game three. So I'm going to guess he's got a nagging injury that has, come back. Now, what was his success during the playoffs now? 43% before potentially picking up this injury, 34% since then. So he's been taking less faceoffs, been less successful. Evander Kane has been taking those faceoffs in his place. So, is that a huge thing? Maybe he takes down their faceoffs a little bit, but that's on the coaching staff to try to juggle things around, to maybe put a different line out there. Maybe you have have Evander Kane taking some of those face-offs. It's a bit of a something, but obviously points towards something wrong with Ryan Nugent Hopkins, but we know that.
The Panthers sucked the life completely out of the Edmonton side there through game three. And a lot of aspects of that third period, a lot of people described as embarrassing, myself included, for the Oilers. Is this something you see fueling them forward? And for the Oilers, where do they go? Let's start with goaltending, and then where you see this game four going here.
Yeah.
You're on the side that maybe that Edmonton plus 126 number is pretty appealing.
Yeah, I'm all over it. I mean, before the series started, we mentioned this for a couple playoff series here, just digging into how Edmonton has done over the past 4 seasons. I was all over this from the get-go, the fact that they are not particularly good in games 1 through 3 in series, and they come on really strong in games 4 through 7. So before this series started, looking at the last 4 playoffs, 43% of their games won in games 1 through 3. Games 4 through 7, 78% won. So a big jump. And their biggest success overall has been in game fours. So 10-2 over the last 4 seasons, and they've won 9 game fours in a row. So it's kind of a quirky thing to go on, but I am all over Edmonton being successful in game fours. They're going to lose one eventually here. But if you're asking me to pick who's going to win this game, I am all over Edmonton in this game four. Now, let me dig into the goaltending just in those regards, because NHL Network also highlighted the fact that Stuart Skinner has been much better in games 1 through 3. I'm sorry, worse in games 1 through 3 over the last 2 playoffs than games 4 through 7. For instance, with a 7-14 record versus 14-1 in games 4 through 7. Save percentage 870 compared to 942. All right, that's what NHL Network had. I wanted to dig more into that and look at just what's the variation for Stuart Skinner between wins and losses. So in his wins, and I'm looking at this playoffs only. In his wins, 957 save percentage versus 828. I wanted to see how that broke down between even strength and power play. So, they both drop. So even strength, 969 save percentage at even strength in his wins, 862 in his losses. Power play, 850 save percentage in the wins, 725 in the losses. So, it's both even strength and power plays. I assume that you've got a lot more of those breakaways, shots in the house, whatever. We talked about that in previous episodes in the losses, but obviously pointing towards perhaps worse play by him, perhaps worse play by the power play. Their shorthanded unit as well. So. Good Skinner or bad Skinner, we will see, but I am all over Edmonton having yet another very good game four.
Skinner's saves prop right now sits at 25.5. So something that would be favorable towards that would be the over if Skinner's going to have a big bounce back game here. And you got to think that was a little bit of nightmare fuel there for McDavid and his squad, thinking about what happened last year, how strong the Panthers started, but they also know how to rebound. 3 straight
Mm,
wins in games 4, 5, and 6 before
yep.
losing the cup in Sunrise. And game 7 this year will be in Edmonton. So a lot to think about there. How about a couple props that we're
Hmm.
watching? We broke down a few players maybe with longer odds again today, and especially on the Edmonton side. If we're looking for that Edmonton bounce back, Timo, where's some spots you have your eyes on?
Yeah, if I'm right about Edmonton bouncing back, I'm looking for goal scorers. So the two pure scorers that they have, the guys that I think of scoring more than assisting, that's Corey Perry. You had him at plus 280 for a goal, and Evander Kane at plus 350 for a goal. And I'll go back to my pick from a couple games ago. If we're looking for an Edmonton win, I'm looking for some empty net situations, and I'm going back to Kasperi Kapanen for that, for both goal and last goal on that.
Plus 4,000 for the last goal, plus 650 for the Kapanen anytime goal. I like Matthias Ekholm. He's just about plus 200 to pick up an anytime point, plus 1,200 on an
Mm,
anytime goal. But I think that point prop for a guy who's very involved in their offense, power play 2 quarterback, is something that definitely jumps out. And I could see a point from a defenseman coming in here. Ekholm has been not shy in the offensive side. Let's quickly look as we close up at the Conn Smythe odds. And we have two guys who vastly jumped the charts.
wow.
Brad Marchand came into game 3 100 to 1 to win the Conn Smythe. Sam Bennett was around 20 to 1. All of a sudden, Bennett now the favorite, plus
Wow.
160. Brad Marchand, the third favorite, plus 375. And that's 3.75 to 1 from 100 to 1 for
Should
Brad
have put your money
Marchand.
on that when we said so last
Right,
time, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that continues. But if we're thinking about an Oilers comeback here,
Yep.
this has to be the best chance to have McDavid or Draisaitl.
Yep.
Draisaitl now 12 to 1. Timo, you really like that one,
Yes.
but McDavid also plus 225. And we talked last game, you're really not going to have a chance to get great odds for the rest of the series. This is your chance right here at just over 2 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, like Draisaitl, that's bounced up and down a little bit too. This is the best odds you have on him. Um, he's maybe not a co-favorite with McDavid, but he's really close to that. I could see if Edmonton reels off 3 more wins, yeah, could McDavid still get the Conn Smythe in another losing effort, a Game 7 effort? I could see that too. So I like both of those, but at these odds, Draisaitl again. Like if you were putting money on Conn Smythe, every show here with who we have, I mean, you'd have tickets for a lot of these guys, and whichever one comes through, you'd have really good odds on it. So I think for me the play today is Draisaitl, but you're right. This is about as good as you're going to get on Connor McDavid. Everybody's going a little gaga over Bennett and Marchand. Um, I think that they're good choices. Those odds are maybe not great, and I think they still have work to do. I mean, they are weaving their storylines here, but this is about an entire playoffs, and McDavid and Draisaitl have put up a ton of points.
And you think about recency bias as well. Leon Draisaitl's been the guy who's been lighting the lamp, the opening goal, the overtime goal. If Draisaitl can continue to put a few pucks in the back of the net, even if it's McDavid sending assists to him, that's going to kind of shine some light on his name. And also McDavid potentially banged up working with injury. Draisaitl, I'm with you. 12 to 1. If you're going to go thinking the Oilers are going to pull this one away, that's a great spot to look. And another thing that I'm just thinking of here is the series spread that we haven't talked too much about. Now down 2 to 1 here. Edmonton is significant underdogs. And even in the spread category, just to win the series, they're plus 215 all of a sudden, which we haven't seen much of in a 2-1 series throughout the Western Conference Final. Dallas was kind of still in there at plus 160 or so. Now they're pretty big underdogs here. But even for the spread, if we were thinking about this series going 7, they're minus 104 to cover a plus 1.5 game spread, which would mean they could lose in game 7 and still hit that just about even odds. Timo, is that
Hmm.
something that you would look at all, or are you kind of on the side that maybe Florida can really roar back here, close this thing out in 6?
I think Florida in 6 is certainly a possibility. I mean, we picked Florida in 7 to begin with, but once you get to a game 7, hey, it's in Edmonton, anybody's game. If you got good odds, even on you can cash it with Edmonton losing in 7. That doesn't sound bad to me.
So maybe if you're thinking about a win tonight, you could hit that and maybe try to get a little cash out option on the bonus
Yeah,
there.
I think
Timo,
every
final thoughts as we wrap up here.
yeah, I think Florida did great last game, but it's series can be swingy. I mean, like I think it's not to say Florida couldn't win this game. They're a really good team. But I feel like a lot of the odds have swung to Florida, whether it's for this game, whether it's for Bennett and Marchand, for the Conn Smythe. Um, Probably swung a little bit too much in that direction. So I think Edmonton's got a really good chance to make this interesting long series.
Keep joining us daily. We've got a couple days off here after this game, and the series will head back to Edmonton. We'll be right back with your daily picks, props, and parlays analysis behind the NHL's betting market to help you find success with your betting picks. He's Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe on X, YouTube, and Spotify, and we'll continue pumping out this content. And don't forget to check out those daily tweets with all of your parlays and extra picks to put down, odds included. For Timo, I'm Casey. Until next time, have a good one.